G'day. Here at the Regenerative Journey, part of our goal is to educate our followers on the benefits of knowing where their food comes from and the knock-on effects this can have on our health, our environment and our future generations. Understanding the connection has never been more important, and in the spirit of this endeavour, we have teamed up with Highland Beef Pastoral Company, a grass-fed beef supply chain servicing the growing US grass-fed consumer market, who I'm excited to announce are our Season 6 show sponsors. Essentially, this Australian-based business places cattle on their member graziers' properties at no expense to the farmer and provides competitive returns for every kilo of beef produced, allowing their graziers to focus on improving their businesses in a capital-free and risk-free environment. Highland Beef graziers are some of the best grass and animal managers in the country. Livestock are humanely and lovingly cared for while on their farms, and customers are guaranteed a very high-quality, regeneratively managed grass-fed and finished product with full transparency from farm to plate. If you're interested in finding out more about this program, visit hbpastoral.com.au/Charlie Arnott.
Ultimately, why we started this is, to get ourselves a stable market and then help other farmers get a stable market for their livestock as well. So, that green grass and that lifestyle and that ideology of being able to be farmers and, looking after our land and our country is what does inspire us every day to do what we do.
That was Dave McGiveron, and you're listening to The Regenerative Journey. From wherever we are, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia, recognising their continuing connection to this land, its waterways, the stars in the skies since time immemorial. We pay our respects to the elders, knowledge holders, and to all the generations of First Nations peoples who have nurtured their unceded sovereign lands for over 80,000 years and continue to do so today.
G'day, I'm your host Charlie Arnott, an 8th generational Australian regenerative farmer. And in this podcast series, I'll be diving deep and exploring my guests' unique perspectives on the world so you can apply their experience and knowledge to cultivate your own transition to a more regenerative way of life.
Welcome to The Regenerative Journey with your host Charlie Arnott.
G'day, welcome back to the Regenerative Journey. You hopefully had a wonderful, restful festive season, with family, with friends, whatever you're doing, because I'm recording this pre-Christmas. And so I trust everyone's had a lovely, lovely break and getting themselves G'd up for their for 2023. I'm not sure. I sort of have done New Year's resolutions before. Again, maybe like most people, don't really stick to them because what I don't do is create the system that actually supports the achievement of those resolutions. Keeping those resolutions and actually make them actionable and executable is the biggest trick. We can have our dreams and aspirations and goals, fantasies, desires, all of that stuff. However, if we don't put them into action, and I am guilty of doing that, not putting them into action, again, not putting a system in place to support the rollout, the progression of them. There's your little Tony Robbins moment, straight up. Talking about straight up, I won't gin around too much. We'll talk. I'll just get into the interview. I'm here at just quietly at Hanamino in the loft. You can hear those beautiful birds tweeting in the background. Love it. Plenty of activity in the garden today. Dave and Bianca from Our Cow, you, if you listened to last week's episode, actually we had a bit of a break after Christmas and New Year. Give you all a bit of a spell from it all and maybe catch up potentially. Dave and Bianca, Our Cow, amazing. Some years ago, partners bought a farm, doing it pretty tough. I have to say, that's what they tell us, and I don't doubt that for a minute. At that time of the year, the seasons, their lives, and so on. some very dry times and very, very big challenges for a lot of farmers. Dave, I actually saw them first. I might have mentioned this in the interview, but I met them first at a pitch day. I think it was 2018, potentially, at the farm at Byron Bay, Adam Gibson. And I sort of put that on, and it was fantastic. We had Charlie Massey speak. We had, I think Hamish McCoy might have spoken. I can't remember now. But anyway, we had basically an event where people turned up with, somewhat of a pitch, and there was a bit of tuition around how to present that. Anyway, Dave and Bianca sort of turned up, and their pitch was essentially like us on Facebook. They had a great idea, not one that wasn't necessarily unique. However, it was. They have gone on from strength to strength, and through sheer hard work and intelligence and learning and hunger to just achieve their vision, they have an extraordinarily large business now. Starting off in a small butcher shop they were renting and just doing their own animals, and then expanding, and then now they've sort of got somewhat of a factory / plant in Casino, and they've got all sorts of meats. So they started basically, I won't bang on it because you'll listen and find out, with selling their own beef, in the car up to Brisbane, door to door. On the phone, that sort of stuff, and now that's morphed into a national business, I have to say, because I think it's certainly up and down the East Coast. They're doing some interesting stuff next year with seafood. This year that you're listening to it in, and just incredible couple. So look, I won't bang on anymore. I don't think I need to. Just get your ears into this one. Find a nice quiet spot or go for a long walk. Dave and Bianca from Our Cow, they're here, they're now. You'll be listening to them as soon as I shut up. And welcome to 2023. I'm not sure if I'd mentioned it in my last episode, but let's hope. Not just hope. I'm not a big fan of hope. I like people whose name is Hope, but the word hope, it's just not sure it conjures up the right sort of things. Is it like faith? Is faith and hope a similar thing? Don't know. But anyway, let's trust. I trust that 2023 is going to be a cracking year for you, that you use whatever lessons you've learnt in the last year or your entire life to this point and apply them to 2023. But let's apply our years to Dave and Bianca from Our Cow now on the regenerative journey. Dave and Bianca, welcome to the regenerative journey.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me in, and welcome to your boardroom. What do we call this room?
Bianca's office.
It's Bianca. It's part of Bianca's office, who I have to say has a much nicer office than you, Dave.
Yeah.
We might do
I'll pay the bills if she gets a nicer office. How do you work that out?
That's marketing.
We're going to have a bit of a deep dive. Bianca made a comment before about that, and I thought that's what we'll touch on, I reckon, as I try and make sure my gear doesn't fall apart. I need a screwdriver there. You guys are Our Cow, and if anyone hadn't heard of these guys, you've been living under a rock for most of your life. And if you are on YouTube, you should see the very recognisable signature green shirts that the guys have on. Who actually makes your shirts? Who's this guy? Who's this one?
Right Mate makes our shirt.
Right Mate.
I
haven't even heard of them.
They're fantastic. Open to a sponsorship if they're listening.
So they're like the other ones that I may not mention the name of, because if you get a sponsorship, you don't want me sort of putting the competitors out there.
Very similar, but we haven't been able to find anyone else that does our emerald green.
You know what I might do? I think what we'll do is how about that? And now it doesn't matter who's talking.
There we go.
The lights are green. That's good.
Okay, good
God,
idea.
see, I'm learning too. I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, they're just a average sort of work shirt that do a good job.
And they do the embroidery and everything.
Well, we have a local lady that does our embroidery.
Now, local means we're in... you guys just work... No, don't be sorry. It's all good. Local is Casino. We're here in Casino, and I want to snuggle up to you a bit more there, Bianca. Don't be... You spend enough time with your husband, partner. Are you guys married?
No, we're not. Close enough.
Oh, is that... maybe we should stay away from that topic.
Stay away from that.
Okay, I won't use husband...
It's not a sensitive topic, don't worry.
Okay, it's not husband and wife, it's partners. That's easy, politically correct. So welcome to your other part of Bianca's office. We are in Casino, and we're here to talk about your regenerative journeys, and yours is particularly unique, and we'll get to unpack that as we go. As I say to everyone has a regenerative journey. You don't have to be a farmer and you guys are farming, but you're doing other special things, to qualify as a guest, because it's not just about, a regenerative farmer, it's regenerative living, a regenerative life, and you guys, I know, and we'll get to it, contributing to regenerative lifestyles of many, many people around the country. So I usually start, because I'm at someone's farm, and I know that you guys are busy today, so we're here at your, do you call it a factory? It's not really a factory, is it? What is it? Your processing plant.
Yep.
Yeah, in Casino, because your farm is an hour and a bit away, and timing wasn't going to work to do with that. So I usually do it on farm, or in a guest garden or their place of work, which we are in your place of work, and which is a catalyst for questions like, why are we here? Looking out at a paddock, and it's wonderful, and what inspires you? But we're here looking at a white wall and a door where the bathroom's just around the corner. So we'll kind of step around that one.
I guess we can talk about that.
I can still pose the same question, just in a different context.
Yeah, I think that exactly what you just said, the green paddocks and the lush grass, and that is what inspires us to be able to do what we do, and bring a lot of other farmers on our journey. I guess that is ultimately why we started this, is to get ourselves a stable market, and then help other farmers get a stable market for their livestock as well. So that green grass and that lifestyle and that ideology of being able to be farmers and looking after our land and our country is what does inspire us every day to do what we do.
And we wouldn't be here right now if we didn't have that farm behind us. We wouldn't have made the decisions that we had to make in order to be here right now. If we weren't faced with droughts, bushfires, poor prices, everything else that a farmer goes through, it probably wouldn't have enabled us to do what we do and made the decisions to start the business Our Cow.
And work as hard, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
So your farm is an hour a bit to the west, heading over towards Tenterfield.
Yep.
Can you explain it? Because we're not going to get there today. Can you just explain, size, kind of what it means to you? When did you kick it off there?
Yeah, so we bought our farm in 2017, and it's just a bit over 2,000 acres. Fairly remote, I guess. We're an hour and a half from any town, so an hour and a half sort of southeast of Tenterfield, an hour and a half southwest of Casino, or an hour and a half north west of Grafton. So you're on the Clarence River. We don't have good river frontage. We've got some good creeks on our property, but not the best river frontage. And I guess our block is it does have some good creek flats, but predominantly is a bush block. We've got a lot of native timber and pastures and things like that we got to work with as well. It's a fairly substantial bush block, but it was all that we could afford at the time. It was our first farm, and it's so difficult for young people to get into agriculture and buy their own farm. So, it was all that we could afford at the time, but we've made it a decision. We looked the whole way up and down the east coast of Australia for a farm that, suited us, and as soon as we went there, we knew it was going to be our farm for the rest of our life.
And what age, can I ask you? Is that a rude question?
No, I was 23 when we bought the farm.
I was 28, I think. Yeah, when we first bought that property.
Yeah.
And that was 17, did you say? It's 5 years ago. Is that 5 years ago? How's my maths?
17, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. How many acres again? Just over 2,000. Just over 2,000. That's not small.
Yeah, no, it's a good sized farm. Like, I grew up on farms, and I had a smaller block before this, a little 100-acre place, but when we come down this way, we wanted to be able to live off of our farm and have it productive enough so that we could run enough cows, turn off enough weaners so that we could make an income off of our farm. And I guess cow-calf unit to price per hectare, that was sort of the best that we could afford at that point. It's not, like I said, it's not the best property. We can't put on we can't turn off our weaners at 400 kilos like a lot of people can, but it's a good place and a good start for us.
Well, I guess it all depends on what your definition of best is. It's clearly what it's what you can afford, but it's clearly got you to where you are now, which again we'll get into. So it's actually been a wonderful. Oh yeah. It's probably actually been the best. Yeah. Because it probably pushed you to explore other ideas that you may not have if you'd had a different block with lots more grass and lots more capacity, perhaps. So it's actually been perfect.
That, for sure.
And I think it's that place and our farm was probably the reasoning behind the business. Like we weren't in a position where we could live just off our cow numbers or off the farm itself, and we sort of came up, we both said to each other, well, we can't afford to buy, you know, another couple of thousand acres and have 1,000 cows around us just to live off the farm. What else can we do to make the most out of our block that we had? And that was, I guess, where this whole thing sort of came from.
And, you know, that's really, interesting. And again, we'll get to it. I hope I'm sort of building the tension for our listeners. Going, what are you talking about? That you had a vision, and your kind of the geography and the logistics and the capacity, the resources you had didn't stop you clearly from kind of, you know, living that dream and helping others live their dream as well. And you got Shorthorns.
We run a Santa Hereford cow base, and then put Shorthorn bulls back over
Shorthorn
top
bulls,
of them.
yeah.
So just because of our bush block, it's a bit lighter country, we run a little bit of content in our cows, and then we put Shorthorn bulls back over them, and then we all of the salt, like all the terminal after that.
Yeah, nice. So do you have, with the bit of Bosinigus, the Santa, which is like 5/8 Shorthorn anyway, is that because for the climate, is it the heat, is it wouldn't get ticks out there, do you?
No ticks, but just the lighter country and the
doability.
They do.
Yeah, they do a bit better in our country, we found.
Yeah.
It's coastal country, but it does get cold. You know, we're -7 sometimes out our way. And this winter's been particularly hard, I guess, on our cows. So, and it's probably most places around the east coast has been particularly hard on livestock. But that's the sort of the way that we've gone. Mainly there's the bit of content in them for the cow herd for doability, but the Shorthorn bulls for the meat quality is really what we're chasing. I think is, out of the animals that we've processed so far, we've probably processed 10 or 12,000 animals through our plant, and just the exceptional doability off of the grass and the marble content that we can get off of the grass out of a Shorthorn animal.
Did everyone hear that? I hope you did. These guys know what they're talking about. Shorthorn. We've been Shorthorn producers and breeders. I think our family, the Manchee side, so my grandmother on Dad's side, they started the Yambergan Shorthorn started in 1956 up at Yambergan in Queensland. Yep. So we've been Shorthorn. I always get asked, why Shorthorn? And I say, well, as if you'd have Angus, is the first thing I say, which always puts people off. Those Angus, blacks, blah, blah, blah.
We still process a lot of black cattle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mainly a lot of British bred cattle, but,
Shorthorns are our pick.
Yeah, that's what we run on our farm anyway.
Well, I'm actually really excited to hear that.
You can't beat a redhead.
Well, actually, I bought some... this is going nowhere where I thought it was going to go, but it's fine. Last week I bought some composite bulls from Johnny Wright down there at Blue E at Woodstock near Burrawa. I bought one actually. Last year we bought 3. I bought one this year, and they're they're an Angus Shorthorn cross, but with some Simmental as well. And we used to do Simmental years ago with Charolais and Santa. We had these enormous Charolais Santa cows, the biggest things you've ever seen. They were enormous. And there's still every now and again, and I'm talking 25, 30 years ago, and every now and again you'll get these creamy calves come through. They're still coming through, and we haven't had those cows for 25 years. It's incredible. So we're going, put a bit more meat on the bones of the Shorthorns, but I'm really pleased to hear that, because we love them just for so many reasons, but they're individual. They've got different colorations, and their maternal traits just outstanding.
Yeah, and I think the genetics as well is obviously something that you want to strive for, but we're looking for meat quality in our business. We're not looking for growth rates or things like that. Our animals, we process them a lot lighter than probably going through a feedlot or something like that. So we look, a lot of farmers are actually breeding animals for our program now. So our bull size, our frame score size with our cows are a bit smaller because we process, a yearling animal. So and we're after meat quality. So the marbling that we can get off of the grass out of those animals is what we're chasing. And we do get, admittedly, with the blacks, we do get some good marbling off of the grass of the black cattle as well, but probably the genetics of the Shorthorns that we're using at the moment, we're up to a 4 or 5 for a yearling type animal, marble score just straight off of the grass without going into a feedlot, so...
What's interesting, we sold some weaners, our short on weaners early this year, and they didn't make as much as the Angus one. Same car, same weight, same sales, pens side by side. It's interesting that, which I was a bit dark on. I thought, bloody, just because they're black, they're worth more, and that's fine. That's just what it is. But it did get me thinking about, the opportunity there is to. Because when you sell that animal when it's finished, so if you're going to a feedlot or even a grass-fed thing, they're worth the same, a black and a red, the shorthorns. So there's actually an opportunity there. Yeah. There's a margin there to pick up the shorthorns at a discount, basically, because they're not black, but take them to a point where they're worth as much as one, So I've been thinking about how to... But, I don't like going to feedlots at all. I've got a real thing about that. We have, and... but to sort of explore more the grass-fed situation. We'll get into that. Let's get back to chronological order of your lives. Sorry. No, don't be sorry. Oh, that was all. I'm not talking about... talking about cows. No, same. That's why we spent the first 13 minutes doing that, and I didn't mean to. But I want to get back to breeding because I think that's what you mentioned there, Dave, before about influencing your suppliers. I think that's a really interesting step you've got to, in a relationship building. I'm not sure who wants to go first because I'll take you back to your childhoods. Did you know each other? When did you... I'm going to sort of go to when did you meet, and then we'll just quickly, what age were you when you met?
I would have been 20.
And Dave was 24, 26.
Yeah.
And where did you meet?
So I got a job in a coal mine, actually, in central Queensland.
Yeah.
And Dave was my supervisor. So that went down well.
One of those stories.
Yeah, that's the story, basically. Dave chased me around the paddock for 2 years and finally gave him a chance, I suppose. Here we are.
I want to get back to that one when your two separate lives collide.
Yeah.
Bianca, do you want to go first? Where were you? Where did your life kick off? You were born...
I was born and raised in Port Macquarie, mid-north coast, New South Wales. And then when I was probably 12 or 13, we moved to Cairns. So my family all moved up to Cairns and I went to school up there.
So Dave's head doesn't get it taken out. No, don't be sorry. I just want to make sure your beautiful melon gets put on the thing as well.
Yeah, so we moved up to Cairns and I worked in nothing to do with farming. I was a youth worker, hospitality, and then worked in the mines. So that's where we met. And I don't know, I just always had this inkling that I would somewhere along the lines end up on a farm. I don't know what it was, but I just had this feeling that I wanted to be in the country. I wanted to be on a farm. I didn't know how that was ever going to happen, but and then I met Dave and I moved from Cairns down to Kelbar where Dave was living at the time. We had a little
Where's
place.
That?
Where Boona. Just outside of Ipswich.
Okay. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So I moved down there. That was probably the first little bit of country life I'd ever experienced, to come out of the city. Moved down there and we probably spent a good couple of years looking for a farm. We sort of decided that we wanted to live on a farm and we looked everywhere, like Dave said, all up and down the East Coast until we found our place.
And did your other... You said youth worker, and what was the other skills you had to... The other experience?
Hospitality, youth worker, and then mining.
Did they... what of those skills or experiences did you bring to the party that are now kind of you're using? Actually, just come over this way a bit, guys. I reckon, given that that's it. Then we get less of the mic in Dave's face in terms of the video there. That's good. I think that'll work better.
I think probably the main skill that I picked up from my work life beforehand would be the storytelling and just listening to people's stories in my youth work role. I, worked with so many disengaged young people that were, struggling and not engaged in the community. And I would sit there for hours and listen to them talk. And I just loved hearing their stories, where they came from, why they were here. And it really helped them, I guess, to be able to heal and talk to people. But just it just made me feel so connected to them, listening to their stories and where they'd come from and what experiences they've had. So I think that's probably one thing that I really love about our business now, is just the storytelling of our farmers, knowing where they've come from and just being able to share that with our customers and our further network through the power of social media.
So you're quite active on social media, so that's one of the mediums we have to engage.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that wonderful? I always, when talking to people about, and often, what was I doing the other day? Our biodynamic workshops where people go, I was a lawyer or a doctor or a digital marketing person, and they've done the training, they've had the experience, they go into farming, and it's interesting how I sort of predict, because that tends to happen. Farming is not being a lawyer, but somehow those skills kind of come out as well, because that's just an innate thing. Even if they're ones they went to uni for and mum said to go and do some degree and they go, whatever, but they still get to use them. And that's the lovely thing about agriculture, I think, is there's so many, it requires such a diverse skill base. Like you guys are doing what you're doing, but your experience with listening and helping people tell stories, and engaging in that way, like that's one of your strengths. Now,
100%. Yeah, for sure. I guess that part of it, and then probably the mining side of things is probably more so to do with the production environment that we've created here with our business. Like, we're very production orientated. We've created a really good culture with our crew and our team, and they like coming to work. They like being here, I think, and working with us to be able to. That's not what I hear. To achieve the greater goal. So just having that production mindset of being able to effectively produce meat.
When you were just referencing the mine, what were you doing there? What was your kind of your role?
I was an operator, so I was a truck driver to start with, and then I learned a few other skills, a few other different machines out there, loaders, dozers. So
this is an open
cut coal mine. Yeah.
But you girls are much better drivers.
Yeah, we are. We're much better drivers. We're favoured out there because we look after the gear a lot better, and I was a pretty good truck driver, I would say. Wasn't I, David?
Was Dave a good driver? Were you driving, or were you just overseeing everything?
Dave was the supervisor, so he was like the big boss.
Did he sit in one of those demountable things, just like yelling instructions and looking at through binoculars, saying, "Oi, Bianca, slow down"?
It was basically in a light vehicle. He'd drive around in a car and a radio.
Yell at everybody.
Yeah.
You didn't sometimes feel like in your big truck backing over his little go, shut up.
Probably several times. Maybe Bianca didn't, but a few other people might have.
No, I keep hearing that there's many more female drivers for that very reason. They're just much more careful, and the bloke's trying to pop monos. Like, you probably pop a mono on one of those things. Okay, that was to that point. Dave, where was home for you when you grew up, born and so on?
So I grew up on the Gold Coast inland. My family were 5th generation dairy and banana farmers.
Near Burner there?
No, actually on the back of the Gold Coast, right near the M1 motorway, sort of Ormo, Kingsholm area. Right. Pimpamar River in between the rivers there.
Before development.
Yeah, before the Gold Coast turned into 1 million people everywhere. But, some of the best farming land around, really high rainfall, good soils. There was red soil. We used to farm our bananas, and we used to grow ladyfinger bananas. I think we had about 35,000 banana plants at one point.
Sure.
And then we had a run of dairy cows, and then through the late 90s, the 90s drought in this area, my family, ended up losing those farms at that point through the 90s drought. So we did go into beef, and then lost those farms through the 90s drought. So it sort of affected me pretty heavily. I was only 10 or 11 years old then. And then, in my early teens, I moved to central Queensland, out Springshaw area, and was working on a few different farms in central Queensland around there. And then basically, a coal mine opened up down the road, and I put my name down for a job there when I was 17. I've seen all this big money, and I liked driving machinery when I was a kid. I loved driving Granddad's dozer and putting in banana patches and things on the Gold Coast. And then so I just wanted to get into the mines to drive the biggest piece of equipment I could. So I worked my way up as a machine operator. Started off driving dump trucks and bulldozers and excavators and big 600-ton excavators, and then to a rope shovel, and did a bit on a drag line and stuff like that as well. So, and then become a supervisor and a boss for biggest mining company in the world. And I guess probably the skills that I learned was not how to run a culture. I guess I think culture was pretty terrible at that place at that point, and I didn't want I didn't want to be a part of it anymore. It didn't matter how much money that you were earning at that place. It was somewhere where I'd never wanted to be, and I didn't want. Bianca and I both made that decision that we didn't want to be there no more. We walked away from a lot of money. We saved our asses off to buy our first farm, and that was the goal, that we stayed in the mine to buy our farm, and then we just walked away from a couple of big paychecks to nothing onto a little farm, and then started going into a pretty bad drought. But it was just something that I learnt, was I didn't want to be a part of that culture, I wanted to have something that people wanted to be a part of, and really felt valued in what they were doing.
I think your people skills too probably is one thing that you
really I think, I don't know, I guess so, but probably, I like dealing with people and I like the relationships. I just think that, even still now, all of our relationships with our farmers, they're all based off handshakes, so I don't have any contracts in place with anybody. It's just, I want to work with people that are stand-up characters, that have got some morals and ethics and integrity in what they do, and I think having those relationships, and I guess I was pretty good at people skills as well.
And how long you guys, when you guys met, and then was it a year or two before you then went, oh, this is enough and we've saved money and we'll go? Like, was there a long period of time, or was it pretty quick?
I reckon it would have been about 3 years. We met, we started seeing each other, and then we thought, well, let's save as much as we can to purchase a farm, and we probably did that for a good 2.5 years. We were still in the mines.
We just ate Vegemite sandwiches every night and tried everything, saved every bit of money that we could.
Yeah.
To because that 40% deposit, it's a big chunk of money for a young person to have in the bank account with no one behind her. We had several people say to us that, don't you have any family members or anybody that can lend you the money? We're like, no, it was to try and get our own little farm and get into agriculture, I guess.
Well, and just looking at what the real estate job's done the last 5 years too, it was a good time you got in.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be even harder for young people to get in, and we're really passionate about trying to get young people into ag as well, because I think it's such a great industry to be in, and there's so many good ideas that are coming out and about now from the young people that are passionate about it. There's so many girls that are involved in ag now, where when I was a kid it probably wasn't so much. Like, it was, I looked up to my mum that was in the cattle industry back then, and she was a tough woman, and probably didn't get as much respect as she probably should have by the males in that industry, I suppose. So it's really good to see the girls in the industry having a good crack.
I think it's that's one of the things a relief is not the word, but kind of really excited about and confident about the future of ag, and also I guess the field of ag we're in. Oh, excuse me. You guys are, and we'll get to that. Regenerative, sustainable, natural farming, or whatever, non-industrialised farming, is the women in that space are just slaying it. It attracts good women, as it attracts good blokes too. And that's not to say there aren't those types of people in conventional agriculture by any means. But I think it takes a certain person, male or female, to have the courage to kind of try things differently, and go against the grain and bust paradigms, that sort of thing. Again, I am talking it up a bit, but at the same time, it's just a fact. That's what I've found. I've spent most of my life in conventional farming, and then I've spent the last 15, 20 years in a different type of farming.
Yeah, I think
and that's just what I found.
Like Bianca's thoughts around farming and agriculture, but it was just someone that wasn't in the industry and has seen what happens for the last 200 years to have a fresh thought on how can we do something different, because this isn't clearly working. If it was up to me, I probably still would have been a weaner producer, selling me wieners to the sale yards every week or every year, and trying to do the same thing all the time and bust your guts and not know what you're going to get for your livestock. But took some fresh thinking from outside the industry from Bianca to really create what we have now.
Bianca, do you think having fresh eyes, not being, the daughter of a farmer or in that sort of thing, has been a positive generally, or not?
Oh, 100%. I think me not having any farming experience or any understanding how the farming industry worked was probably instrumental to us being where we are right now. Like, I couldn't understand how you would spend 12 to 18 months producing something and have no idea what you were going to get for it at the end of the day. That just baffled my mind. You know, that no other industry does that. I always relate things back to shopping because I'm a girl, so I could not walk into a shop and offer the lady behind the counter $50 for a dress, even though it was worth $100, and just expect her to accept it. Because that's basically what happens as a livestock producer. You just take your cattle to sale yards and hope to buggery that the price is going to be up on the day, and you just take what you're offered. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, and that's sort of the reasoning, I guess, why we started it, so we could secure a bit of secure an income for ourselves and have a bit of stability in our farming operation.
So, and I agree. I think that's such a great. It's a real. It can be quite a liability, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again. You know, having the paradigms of farming and going, oh, that's just how we do it, and that's just, and not having that sort of different perspective. So got together, a couple of years mining, looked all over the place, found the farm, started there, and 2017, was it? 2017?
Yep.
Not long after it, I guess 2018, pretty tough year, 19, tougher year.
Yeah, well, 2017 we'd bought the farm. We had a small fire come through in 2017, and then 2018 was pretty much the start of the drought. It started getting really dry 2018. We had another small fire in 2018, and then we kind of came into 2019 very, very dry. And then you've got the Black Summer bushfires that happened at the end of 2019, 2020. So it was pretty much 4 very tough years, the first 4 years on the farm, and it was probably even amplified because we'd gone out on such a limb to buy the farm to start with, 40% deposit and no money in the bank. We went into a lot of debt for livestock because we couldn't get a bank loan for livestock, so we booked livestock up through a stock and station agent on 13% interest rates. We paid quite a bit for the cows at the time because the market was up, and then we went through the droughts and the bushfires, and we were forced to turn off the cows because we just didn't have the feed or the water to sustain them at a loss. So we'd paid this much, we were getting this much, and we still owed money on them. So we were going backwards at a rate and just the financial pressure that put on both of us was astronomical, wasn't it?
That was a catalyst for like going, what can we do differently?
Yeah, 100%. We were, it was pretty tough. I think we were going through a tough time was, selling our cattle and cows bloody dying from the drought. We're spending every cent that we had to feed them, but it just wasn't enough at that stage. So, we're offloading our cows. And I think, probably it was a steep learning curve going straight into those tough times, straight after you bought your property. Like, I'd had a smaller place before and just traded a few steers and I never really had a lot of breeding cows of my own. My family was breeders when I grew up on, but, I wasn't in control of the decision making at that point. I was just a kid. So steep learning curve. And just really, Bianca, we're just wondering what the hell we were going to do different. We enrolled ourselves in a few, training programs and business coaching things to try and help us out and make better decisions about what we were doing on our farm at that point. So, we got involved with a few, we went to a few seminars and different things like that and just tried to educate ourselves a bit more on how we can do a better job on and make our farm a business, not just a hobby, I guess. I think we were still looking at it as more of, this is nice, it's a lifestyle, whatever else, but we needed to return us really good numbers off of the farm. And, I was in charge of a pretty big business in the mines, but at the end of the day, it wasn't my money. Like, it was somebody else's money. It was investors' money or big companies' money. And I felt at ease with that. But at home, it was your own money that you were dealing with every day. And it was, whether or not you were going to be able to stay and survive on that property, it all depended on, it fell on my shoulders really. And I felt really a fair bit of pressure from that.
And in what did we work out before, 2018?
Yep.
You guys, Adam Gibson, who I've interviewed for the podcast, and I and a few others organised basically a pitch event at the farm at Byron Bay, and I'm thinking it was like late 2018.
I think it was like early 2019 because we started.
It would have been late 2018.
I'm thinking like September, October. I'm thinking in my mind, and you got. I could be wrong though. And then you got. So that's where I met you guys, and so the whole idea of the pitch event was that people with an idea turn up and pitch it. You know, I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes. There might have been a bit of tuition. I think we had some people there to kind of step you through what's a good pitch look like, and yada yada. And in the afternoons, it might have been, well, who wants to come up and do a pitch?
Yeah.
And you guys did a pitch.
Yeah.
For your idea.
We had an idea, I think it might have been just before that. We're at the YBPF, so the Young Beef Producers Forum in Roma, and we're really struggling financially, but we'd paid some money to go to an event and try and learn some things because we wanted to educate ourselves a bit more. And we went to the YBPF, and Bianca and I were there for a couple of days, and we come up with a name for our cow at that point. So I think that might have been like August or July, August in 2018. We come up with a name of what we wanted to do, and then the idea behind it as well. And then I think we run into you. We come to that event at the farm, and we wanted to pitch our idea because there was investors there, and we thought, we're going to need all this money to get our cow off of the ground and stuff like that. So, and we met some good people there as well, and it opened our mind up to a few things. So yeah.
And your pitch was essentially what you've done now.
Yeah, it was the same. We were pitching the same business idea, but we didn't really know.
Have we even told everyone what you're doing yet? Maybe we better tell them what give them the pitch. The pitch was pretty much, which has turned into...
The pitch was at that point like our Facebook page.
that's what the pitch was. So I guess our cow and what it is we're an online paddock to plate meat company. We work with hundreds of farmers all across Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria, and we deliver grass-fed, organic and free-range meat all across the country, delivered to your door. So it all comes cryovac, it's portioned, it's refrigerated, and it just gives people an opportunity to be able to support farmers through their food choices.
How far south? You said Victoria, so you've got farmers in Victoria?
Yep.
So are they sending their animals up here? How does that work?
No,
You've got it processing.
We process down in Victoria
as well.
Yeah.
So you got here a casino.
Oh no, we process down there at an abattoir, and we freight bodies back up to our facility here.
Yeah. Okay. So all the breaking down happens here, but you've got your breakdown. Yeah. Right. How many other? So Victoria and where else?
Queensland and New South Wales as well.
Yeah.
At this point, but we're looking to go Australia wide soon. So. Get some farmers in WA. We deliver Australia-wide.
So people in Tassie, WA, the Territory, all across the eastern seaboard can all get access to our meat.
So we want to bring some more farmers. We probably have 20 farmers a day that contact us about how they can be a part of our cow, but it's just the chicken or the egg scenario. We need the customers first, and then we bring on the farmers to supply the demand.
And so, then that's a thing that is I bang on about, and it's like you need a demand. No point producing something and going, I hope someone's going to buy it. If there's a demand economy, essentially, demand-based business, then you've got, well, we know we can sell it.
Yeah.
Now we'll go look for it. You're growing, obviously. Like there's given. So just to put it into context, so I saw these guys in, I'm just going to say September 2018 because I think that's roughly when it was.
Yep.
And then you had this idea. Did you do any sort of pitch stuff from that? Did you do any, I think Adam sort of set up a bit of a, some pitch kind of courses or workshops?
We met a couple of guys that had some money and we tried to pitch to them, but, no one was really interested in that point. We were just two yobbos that wanted to try and start a meat company. Do
you think they regret not?
I actually run into one of the guys. I offered him 30% of the business at that point for $150,000. I run into him about 3 weeks ago, and he told me that he wished he'd give me that $150,000 now. So yeah, it's pretty rewarding to see. But at that point,
we weren't ready for it.
Yeah, we weren't.
Know what we were doing.
No, and so. That was then, and so how many? Let's work it out. It's nearly September now, so that's 4 years ago. Hang on, tonight, 200. That's 4 years ago.
Yep.
And now, and I got here this morning, and we're in casino, and your processing facility, and you have got how many staff out there?
I think there's about 46 now.
46 staff.
Yep.
So we went out to the boning room and where the crybacking and what's going on here? It's full. Oh, you bloody thing! Not now. Manage. Oh, you poor thing. So it's telling me I'm full. I just removed some videos off that. Sorry, everyone listeners, you're going to have to put up with me whinging a moan. Have you got a phone?
I do. I'll go grab it.
Can you mind? Do you mind? And then if we can continue on yours.
It's on the charge.
Awesome. And then we'll just have to work out how we do that. I'll just plug that into there. Sorry, everyone. My phone. I deleted about 2 hours worth of video off it before for my last 2 videos. And now, let's see if it should do, just plug straight into that. I don't think you need any, let's just do a dummy one. Hang on, let me get the sound. Yeah, I'll just make sure that the volume's working. Sound, yeah. Yeah, that's working. Okay. Back to there, set you up on that. Look at that, seamless transition to a much better phone that has everything we need on it. Okay, start again. So, are we on? We're on now. So those who are on the YouTube, you'll notice there's a bit of a gap there.
We just had to change.
Because my phone died.
Swap out the technology.
Oh, I can't believe that. I sat here and got rid of a couple of hours worth of stuff on there. Bloody thing. Anyway, moving on. So, good seamless transition. 40-something staff. Where else do we get to? Yeah, so I think I was bang on. So we have went to the boning room. You've got the packing room. The orders come in. You've got all those staff, and can you tell us what what your throughput is, like bodies a day, or you can tell us?
We're processing about 25 tonne a week at the moment, so that's our rough sort of numbers.
And that's pork, chicken. No, not chicken. Is it chicken?
Yep.
Pork, chicken, lamb, and beef.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. And you've got so that's a lot.
Yeah.
And you're going all over the country.
Yep.
And you're also you've got how many suppliers roughly? Because you're as you were saying, Bianca, in what your skill is actually engaging the farmers and helping to tell the stories, because it's all traceable, yeah?
Yeah, so all of our product is traceable.
There you go.
Traceable back to the farmer, and we really pride ourselves on if someone's sitting down in Melbourne or Sydney and for dinner with their steak or their pork cutlet or whatever, they know the farmer's name or where that's coming from, and we want to tell those stories. So we work with about 150 different farmers now as well. So it's fun. Like I've learned so much off of all the farmers that we get to see. It's been the best apprenticeship to go around and just see what they're doing on their farms and really bring it back and implement it on my own farm. Get to see the best of the best from different farmers that are doing such great things.
Have you been to most of the farms?
Yeah. We go to all of them.
That's part of the criteria kind of thing.
We go and check out everybody and
make sure
meet everybody. Make sure that they align with our values and what we're up to. And we obviously want to check out the livestock as well, because we want the best genetics, the best animals that we can coming through our program, and that's why we want to meet all of our farmers and bring them, make them feel that they're a part of something other than just selling to whoever.
That's you go, Bianca. Add to that.
I was just going to say, it's not very often as a farmer that you know where your livestock end up. You sell to the sale yards or you sell to a feedlot or what have you, and that's sort of the end of it. Once it leaves your property, you have no idea. But as a farmer with Our Cow, you know that there's a family somewhere in Australia that's sitting down and actually enjoying something that you've produced. And we've built a really amazing community of our customers and our farmers that get to share in that. Like our customers reach out to our farmers and thank them for the meal that they're eating tonight, and through social media and our Facebook groups and whatnot, it's building a really unique community. Like customers know their farmers and vice versa.
So that, because I know on your packaging, I'm just writing some notes here. On your packaging, it says, so-and-so, whatever farm, Inverell. They can then look on your website and sort of track the story. There's a link to somewhere. They can kind of go, let's have a look at where this meat's from.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it's all about, is us doing some content, some videos about their farm and their story as well. So And every packet of steak or meat that goes out of the facility has got the farmer's name, exactly where it comes from, the breed, and a little bit about them as well. There's a QR code on there. They link to the QR code. There's a bit more of a video on our website about those farmers, so it's really good.
I'm going to get to breeding, because as I sort of touched on before, that what is a lovely thing that I now understand is that with the relationships you're building and kind of the throughput through here and the feedback you're getting, you're able to then kind of help those producers, those breeders, kind of essentially produce what you want.
Yeah, that's right. And it was the first humbling experience for me to think that, these people, these farmers that have entrusted us with their livelihood are now breeding animals specifically for our program. It's their bull selections, their cow frame scores, everything that they're doing is they don't even look at the markets now. They basically... they know what they're going to get for their animals when they hit the ground, their calves, their pigs, their lambs, all that sort of stuff before they even have to go into a market, and they know what decisions they make in the breeding cycle, I guess. So it's pretty humbling to think that, people are making those decisions based on the market that we've created.
And I would add to that, just seeing so many of our farmers expand their operation because they know that they have a market with us. So many of our beef producers have gone out on big limbs to increase their cow herds and be leasing more properties and buying more country so that they can run more cows for us. The same with a lot of our lamb producers. They're thinking outside the box so that they can continue to supply us because they're seeing how quickly we're growing and the volume of livestock we're now taking, and they don't want to miss out. Even the banks are giving them more of an opportunity because we're guaranteeing a price for them to go to.
That's, again, I guess that's a wonderful thing. And it occurred to me before too, in not a dissimilar way, like what you've done in creating your business. You're supporting so many other businesses. Like I said to you guys, we walked around the bone room there and there's a dozen more people in there. And it just occurred to me, what would these people be doing if they weren't working for Our Cow?
Yeah.
They might be in another abattoir. They might be, working any other jobs, well, hopefully. But, what you've done in the, from all the way through, it's a big supply chain, isn't it? You've got people making decisions on farms in Victoria. There's obviously logistics in between. There's the buyers and the sellers, and then there's kind of the people that in your business here now being supported by that throughput, and then there's yourselves, and then I think it's just the more I kind of get back on the page with it, because I guess what I'm not shocked at, but what's really wonderful is that I saw you back then as you're give us a follow on Facebook, and then the impact that you're having on so many different lives, and that's just the live. I'm just talking about the lives in your business. Then there's all the ones who actually get to eat the meat, and then Google someone or get back to your website and then suss out those things.
Looking for more information to assist your regenerative journey? Come join Charlie and his guests around the kitchen table, an online community of supporters with exclusive access to the Regenerative Journey interview transcripts, live online Q&A sessions, a chance to engage with other like-minded people and more. Go to www.charliearnott.com.au/the kitchen table. And if you're not totally satisfied with the value of your membership and wish to cancel it within the first 2 months, we will give you a full 100% refund, no questions asked. Now let's get back to this week's episode.
Do you know of or are relationships building between your eaters, someone somewhere in Tassie or Victoria or somewhere who's eating meat, one of the meats you guys are selling, and then actually going to those farms? Is that creating it's like, oh wow, that's coming from Bob's place, he's up at Mudgee, and then Bob's got a farm stay, and are they, is that kind of stuff happening?
Yeah, 100%. Like quite a few of our farmers do have farm stays, and it was something that they implemented during the drought. They put, farm stays on their properties, and we've had people that have, booked accommodation on those farms, and then they're able to actually see where their lamb's coming from on that farm. And same with the beef. Like we've got places around Casino that have got farm stays. People are travelling here. I've had customers say they've booked their honeymoons or booked their baby moons on, some of our farmers' places. It's just like, unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think that connection between the farmer and the customer, like Bianca said, they reach out over social media. It might be onto that farmer's page or their website or their Instagram or their Facebook page, and they're thanking them for their meal that they've produced. So at the end of the day, it's not just about us. There's about so many other people that's involved in it now. All of our staff, our farmers, we have investors now in our business as well. So we feel pretty humbled to be able to help so many people on the journey that we are on.
Have any marriages taken place? Any children born because of Our Cow? Do you know
probably.
Now, tell me, you're talking about investors. You did a crowdfunding. What do you call it? Raise, I guess. Yes, a few months ago now, and you raised a lot of money.
Yeah, we raised 2.6 million through mainly our farmers and our customers. So, we had so many farmers that were keen to see the business grow because it ultimately grows their business, and then we had so many customers that just wanted to be a part of something and make a change in the food industry. I guess like it is. Not coming from the meat industry, Bianca and I were really shocked at some of the things that goes on, and we wanted to make a change in this industry and give that connection between the customer and the farmer, and I guess make that connection, didn't we? So, and so many people have just believed in what our vision, I guess. So, yeah, it's pretty humbling.
And I think, like I said, bridging the connection between customers and farmers. Like one thing that we did see at the start when we were going through the drought, we've seen how much money gets donated during a time of crisis, like the bushfires, the droughts, the floods. People just want to help. They want to donate. They want to do whatever they can. But rather than feeling like, they have to donate to aid, we've given people an opportunity to support farmers and to make a change in the food industry just simply by choosing where they buy their meat from. So it's going directly to the source. It's giving people an opportunity. And like Dave said, an opportunity for them to feel like they're making a contribution to the future of food and farming and being a part of a community.
And I think... we pay our farmers to be sustainable. We want to pay them a fair price because it takes a lot of effort. We're coming out of a winter that's been the wettest and coldest for a long time. Very hard to produce a grass-fed animal out of a paddock compared to jamming it in a feedlot and putting on grain for 100 days. Like, nothing against that industry. That industry is always going to be there, but it takes a lot more effort and energy to produce an animal off a grass-fed system, to be able to look after your land. We want to pay our farmers better money for doing that. And because it takes more effort, and our followers and our customers know that they're contributing to sustainability in our industry.
With your background, Dave, you mentioned, you saw your family farms, in the 90s that had to sell up. I mean, and you said that I can't remember the word, you said hurt you or really impacted you. I mean, is that giving you a particular perspective on, I guess, your suppliers, your producers, and what the positions they're in? And also, you when you bought your farm, you said, you were buying animals with someone else's money and then having to sell them for less and still pay the interest. Yeah. Has that kind of created a wariness or a confidence of kind of what you need to do for your producers and your farmers?
Yeah, I never really thought about it at the start when we first started the business, but the more that I've dug into it, I think subconsciously it probably did have a big impact on me when I was a kid, going through that time with our family farms having to be sold up through the drought, and then just going onto our own farm and then having the exact same situation as well. I thought that I was like 20 years older, but I kind of thought that I was in the same position as when I was a kid. You didn't really know where you were going to end up or what was going to happen. So. And it probably has had a big impact, I think, subconsciously to make a decision to help so many people and have a vision like that.
With the crowdfunding, what was the not the promise is not the right word, but what was the kind of the intention for the funds raised that you said, look, we need X amount because we're going to do, X, Y, and Z?
Yeah. So
was it like, I'm just going to go to the Caribbean for 2 weeks? We need a break.
Yeah, no, that would be nice, but we didn't get that. We had to work 3 times as hard. I think just the vision of getting more customers and more subscribers, getting in front of more people and telling the farmers' stories is what we needed cash for, because ultimately, media costs money. You need to be advertising. You need to, there's a lot of big supermarkets that are selling products and things like that. I guess it is, it's been an industry that's been around for a long time, but we want to promote what we're doing and doing something different. So it costs money to get in front of people in the marketing, but we've explained our vision to our investors, and they really believe in what we're doing, and they've put their money where their mouth is, I guess.
Let's get to I guess more on that marketing. I mean, your website's simple and it's really effective. I love it. Good graphics, and it's easy to navigate. Obviously, easy to buy stuff. You've got your mission, your vision, and your history, which is great. Who have you had? How did you sort of? Neither of you are marketers.
No.
So you've had good people on your team. Let's talk about that. How did you get to? We sort of jumped around a bit, but 2018. Here's a pitch. 2019. You did your first. Box beef kind of a delivery and that sort of thing. Let's get back to that point, and that was local.
Yeah. So the first one, Dave and I did. We processed the steer off our farm. We thought it was going to be all good. We found a butcher shop to do a private kill for us, basically.
Did? Oh, okay, yes.
The butcher shop cut it all up, and we borrowed a cold room trailer, and we drove basically from the Sunshine Coast all the way down to Port Macquarie, and pretty sure that first delivery was just like our friends and family and people that felt sorry for us.
Really? These two mad people. I'm just trying to get Dave away from that bloody mic. Yeah, come over here.
Come over a bit. Oh, now you're out of it.
No, it's all right. I'll cuddle up here. It's fine.
So, we drove around. We sold our first delivery, and that's basically how it first started. But, we're not marketers, but I think probably one thing that we did really well was we just told a story, and we just were genuine, vulnerable people on social media, and I think people were just looking for a connection, and that's what we did. We wanted to be transparent in the agricultural industry and show people what happens day to day on a farm, and that's basically how it started, was just me consistently jamming a camera in Dave's face and hoping that he wouldn't swear too much.
Did you have to get the beep button out a lot?
No, we didn't worry about that. I think the swearing just comes naturally.
So the first one sold that, processed, yep, and then did you look at each other and go, that was fun or that was crap, or were there times when you went, oh, that's all too hard, or did we make any money?
We had the funnest time of our life, really. I think just going from casino into Brisbane, in one-lane streets, trying to reverse a cold room trail around in Fortitude Valley, and
in a Toyota that doesn't have the best turning circle, in a
Land Cruiser Ute with a generator on the back of it. Like, it was good fun, and we stayed at a few pubs, and it was just like a bonding experience for
us and our customers as well. Like, so many of those people that we delivered to on that first delivery are still customers of ours now. We built relationships with those people, and that first delivery was good, and then we just seen the demand skyrocket, and we hadn't planned for that. We had one steer on our farm, so I'm pretty sure it was around Primex where we seen you there again at Primex. We were able to really connect with a lot of other farmers in the area and kind of pitch to them what our idea was and try and get them on board and sell to them to say, this is what we want to do. Some people thought we were crazy, and some others said it'll never work, but we actually met quite a few farmers on that day and throughout that experience, and they still supply us today, don't they?
Yeah, and Bianca had some controversial banners done up. We had banners that were like, are you sick of paying agents fees? Come and sell to us. And all the agents walked around and hated us.
But they all got steak burgers from us, didn't they?
Because Adam actually put on a pitch day on that one as well. Yeah. That very one I went to, and I think it was a judge or something. But you guys are obviously too busy on the barbecue on the till to be actually
I think we ended up selling 10,000 steak burgers that weekend.
So that was only a few months after you did your first box run up at
the
thing. And I've got to say, you look much more professional than you clearly were. Like you had I mean, that was, you had a big tent. I remember it wasn't like a little cabana the size of this room. It was a reasonable sized tent. You had a few buddies there. You know, you looked professional. You had your green shirts on. You were like, I know Dave was like, there's lots
talking
of
shit.
talking shit. No, it was good. No, lots of volume, but it was great. It was a really fun experience, and I think. That, you know, and again, it's only a couple of months after you did your first box run, so you're obviously quite, you know, progressive and going, what can we do next? We'll go to that place and we'll sell some meat there. Then what happened was that a bit of a new chapter? Was it a new opportunity, or when was the next kind of big holy shit? I think we're onto something here.
For me, I think it was just growing like straight away, just having to connect with other farmers straight away, and then. Basically, it just kept going. Like, there wasn't probably any one point until when COVID hit, I guess, for the 2020. Like, that was, you know, we were about a year in, or not quite a year into the business.
We'd leased a butcher shop.
Yeah. I think we were just outgrowing everything. You know, we were processing our bodies at another butcher shop, and then he said, look, I can't do this no more. This is getting too busy for us.
Too many, yeah.
And then that was only like 2 a week at that point.
And it was just beef at that stage.
Yeah, just beef, and he couldn't do his own work and all of our stuff as well, because we'd go in and we'd cut up 2 bodies, we'd pack, we'd make snags, we'd do the whole lot in one day. And if you've ever cut up a body of beef on a farm, and it's a big day, and we were doing 2 in a day, just me and Bianca and a butcher, so it was a very
labour intensive.
And then we'd have to pack it into a box, pack orders, and then get it onto a truck to get refrigerated at that point as well, because we wanted it more. We knew that we couldn't scale up doing it all ourselves and doing deliveries all of ourselves, as much as we love delivering to customers, and we still, you know, go and see customers now, but we couldn't deliver it all ourselves at that point.
One thing that we did, we sort of realised that we were outgrowing the butcher shops that we were using. We just rang around all the butcher shops basically on the North Coast and asked if anyone wanted to sell their butcher shop. And they're like, what do you mean? You're just cold calling me out of the blue asking if I want to sell my shop.
Who are you?
We ended up finding a shop that was vacant, that hadn't been opened, and we were lucky enough to go in there and to start. Like, we had a really good start in that shop. And
where was that?
It was at Korakai.
Yeah,
so
right.
Just down the road from here, actually just got completely flooded in the floods that came through in January, February. So that butcher shop, the water was over the ceiling. So it's just, yeah.
Well, so were you in there? Were you using that one when the floods came through? No, you'd been and done.
We were out of there probably 8 months, 10 months. We'd been out.
So you obviously undone butchers yourself. So you went, right, we need a butcher to man this butcher shop and do the. Were you doing other butchery as well, like selling as a butcher shop, or just your stuff?
No,
it was more of a facility.
It was just a facility. We didn't open to the public. We had one butcher in there, and we were stressing because we thought we employed him, but we only really had like 1.5 days work a week, and we were like, what are we going to do with this bloke for the rest of the time? It ended up being like a 7-day-a-week job for like 12 hours a day,
because it grew.
It just grew so quickly in that little shop, and it probably wasn't too long after that, I guess, we started to see COVID in March 2020. A few months in that shop before COVID hit.
And then what did COVID mean for you?
It meant no sleep and food shortages.
It meant that we started work at 1:30 in the morning and finished at 9 o'clock at night every night, and we had people, we thought we were going to have to turn our website off, like it was,
because everyone was just going, I need meat.
Everyone was
we need it delivered.
You know, there was one guy in particular that ordered $15,000 worth of meat in one go, and
people were buying 2 cows. Like, it wasn't just a couple of steaks, like they were ordering 2 whole bodies because they thought the world was going to end.
At what point did you? So you had your own cattle. Your first one was yours, and at what point did you go? I know it was always the intention, but from when you did that first delivery around Brisbane to the first another farmer, what period of time was that? Like, when did you run out of your own and basically go?
Yeah,
shit,
straight away. It was on the second delivery. I think you went,
actually need more.
Oh, shit, we're out.
So it went from one body to what?
6 bodies was the next.
Because everyone went, that was good. We'll get more. Did you have a website by that stage?
Yeah, we did. It was just basically a blog post.
Ring Bianca
on this number. We'll send you an invoice. Here's roughly what the weights are going to be, and we'll invoice you the rest when we turn up with the weights.
Yeah.
That's how it started. And we were working at the neighbour's property. Like we're close. There's a 44,000 acre property next door to us, and we're working on their property at that stage to try and get some income in after the drought. Bianca was mowing lawns, and that was where the first order ever came in. She was mowing the lawns next door, and I was a boilermaker fixing all the irrigators and stuff like that. And then, just went from 1 to 6 bodies, and then just kept going from there straight after. So every month it just kept getting busier and busier. So I was on the road talking to farmers, and I guess that's relationship building.
We literally, this is not joking, we would drive down the road and Dave would see a nice paddock of cows, and he'd pull into the house and go, "Oh, hey, what are you doing with them cattle? You want to sell us a few?" And they're like, "Whoa, who the bloody hell are you?" And like that's how we started. We just would find cows on the side of the road that were really nice.
Looked like a nice paddock. Their land looked good. They looked like they'd been looking after their country and stuff like that. We'd go in, say good day, introduce ourselves. I don't know. Just go in and talk shit and drink their cup of tea and eat scones for a while. And
hope that they sell us cows. It was really.
You get any cows? No, but the scones are bloody good.
Yeah, that didn't matter if you get any cows.
Yeah.
What then became you're now dealing with many farmers all over the country, and you applying to them some sort of criteria like for supplying you?
Yeah, we definitely have specs now. We didn't at the start. We had an idea.
Good scones were the only criteria.
And good people, I guess, were the criteria. But, we've got a specification for all of our proteins now. So beef, pork, lamb, chicken, it has to be in specification, I guess. So
land, are we talking practice specification? You're saying you've got to be doing this, you've got to be nice people. What are some of those kind of specs?
Yeah, so I guess the regenerative type farming, we're not chasing people with labels per se, like a certification, but we want to know that if the camera isn't there, or if we're not there looking at them and the camera's not on them, that they're doing the right thing on their property. The animal welfare is top of the standard, we just go and see and observe what they're up to, and if they meet our specifications. They've obviously got specs to still hit in the carcass and the weights and all that sort of stuff on their animals, but just who they are as people and what they're up to on their properties, because they never get to, like Bianca said, they never get to tell their story that often. If they're selling their cattle to a sale yards, there's no differentiation to pen A to pen B. There's just an agent running across the top of them, and they're selling. It's a commodity really, and we want to differentiate that in each people, their individual stories. So,
and I think we don't chase certifications. We're not chasing an organic certification, or we're not, anything like that. It's more about what they do on a day-to-day basis on their farm, and like Dave said, is it something that we can be proud of, that we can tell their story and know that they're doing everything that they possibly can to future-proof the future generations and their kids and grandkids that come onto the farm. And so many of our farmers, if we ask them, are you regenerative or are you biodynamic, they would have no idea what you're talking about. They seriously wouldn't know. But we have one farmer, he's planted 100,000 trees on his farm in the last 12 months. But if I said, are you regenerative, he'd say, what's that? They're just doing the best things that they think in their heart for their property, for their farm, to make sure that it's a good farm for the future.
Like we got another guy that the soil, the microbes that he puts out on his farm and things like that, he can't read or write. He doesn't know anything about that, but there's something that just told him that what he needed to do on his own farm. He said it's like
an energy.
It was an energy, and he talks about the love and the energy, the love that you put into your land, I guess. And if I would have heard this 5 or 10 years ago, I thought it would have been all bullshit, mate. But the results that these people get out of their properties is unbelievable. I've been up to his farm so many times, and you look down the fence line at his property compared to the neighbouring property, and the kikuyu grass just stops at the fence. It doesn't go. It's the exact same soil on either side of the land.
It's deep, rich compost and then dust.
Yeah,
just straight down the fence line. It's unbelievable.
And it's a good point. I think there's labelling of practices and putting them in a sort of boxes or under different umbrellas. But the more important thing is that they're doing it. and the results are good. You know, you can see it in the paddock, you can see it in the personalities, you can see it on the plate.
Yep.
You know, the eating quality of these things, and that's more important, I think, than the regenerative ag club, you know, and that kind of thing. And that's what I'm also hearing from, and as I can now say, the sponsors of our season 6 is Highland Beef, who I know you've had a little bit to do with in the past, and it's not dissimilar. You know, they've got farmers who are doing amazing jobs, beautiful properties, producing wonderful beef, grass-fed beef, and you say the word regenerative and they either say, I don't know what you're talking about, or no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Because, you know, for whatever reason, which is absolutely fine, but when I understand more about them and that cohort of farmers, they're probably not dissimilar to the guys you have on your team, because, you know, they're doing good things, and the proof of that is observed in the paddock, you know, and also the quality of the products that they're producing, you know, which you are seeing firsthand, as they do too, in the Highland Beef sort of system too.
Yeah, and I think like we got asked that question years ago, and I didn't know what those terms were at that point. Like, I was sort of a bit naive to it, but you know, people were asking us what sort of farmers we were, and I was like, oh, I'm just a beef farmer, you know. But when they start asking what sort of things that you do on your property, you're fencing your creeks off, you know, you're planting your trees, you're fencing in some of your native vegetation off so that you can regenerate the land. Like, those are the things that they don't even think about. They don't think of it as a label. They're just doing it because it's what's best for their country and what's best for their next generation that are coming onto the farm.
And I think what's best for their animals as well. Like, at the end of the day, they need to produce an animal that's heavy, that's got good fat coverage, that's got good eating quality, so we continue to go back and buy livestock from them, but also so that they're getting good money for it too. Like, it's in their best interest to be looking after their land so they can continue to put the weight and the fat coverage on their animals, so in turn they get better money for it. So it's really in their financial interest as well to look after their land so they can continue to put good fat, good weight, and make good money out of it, because at the end of the day, you know, yes, it's a lifestyle, but they still need to be sustainable and have a good income on their farm.
What you could have had your same business model, right, and been sourcing from farmers who are not necessarily regenerative or sustainable or naturally farming. I mean, you could have gone and done that. You could have, you know, I suspect you probably could have got just as much meat and the throughput and the whole thing, and the stories would have been slightly different, maybe not as compelling. But at what point did you go, no, we need to be sourcing from people that are doing this in this particular way, or in these sort of types of farming? You know, and when and why? Like, when did it become like we just have to do these guys?
I think it's our personal ethics and our morals as well, Charlie. I think, you know, we want to leave our land in a better way than what we found it. So, you know, the farmers that we work with align with our personal values and our integrity in our business as well. We want to have that strong. Like, there's been numerous crossroads in the business where you could have went left or you could have went right, but right didn't feel so well, or left didn't feel so well at that point, and it didn't sit right within your gut. So, you know, those are the decisions. It made it a lot harder to go down road A than road B, but you made that choice anyway, and I think that's, you know, it would have been so much easier to just go, right, I'm going to get 100 bodies out of the feedlot every week, and I'm going to pay X amount of money for it. I'm going to put it up for this price and sell it for that. Like, it's still now the sourcing, you know, we've had so many people that tell us that we couldn't control this whole supply chain. There's, you know, people from high up in governing bodies have told us that we weren't going to be able to do this and control this whole supply chain in a way that we have. But I think the determination of it and the ethics that you have personally within yourself have made the decision and kept the business going to how it is now.
I would say the customer demand as well. Like, we see customers want a grass-fed product. They don't want to see animals in a feedlot. They don't want to know that the animals are being mistreated. Not that that does occur in a feedlot, but it's just a different vision. You know, cattle in a paddock is much nicer to think and feel compared to them being in a feedlot. I understand feedlots are always going to be there in the necessity part of the industry, but, you know, if people can choose where they want their food to come from, they will always choose that. So there was a much stronger demand for a free-range, organic and grass-fed product.
Well, I mean, it's a great thing that people are starting to identify that their food buying choices actually have such a big impact. you know, and I guess there's the environmental impact, or, you know, I feel better, or I you know, sincerely feel better about buying that steak from that person, from you guys, because you know that it's the money's going back to that farm, and that farmer's doing wonderful environmental things, you know. Yeah. That's one of it. I'm just sort of putting things in baskets here. I think the other thing that's clear is to the eaters is it's also a health thing too, you know. And I'm not saying, you know, grass-fed's better than, it's arguable, you know, better than feedlot, but in terms of the ethics, because there's you know, the health of the animal, the health of the people eating it, and I think it's a lovely, you know, story, but it's just more, it's, you know, based in fact around a grass-fed beef, and I know you're doing lamb and chicken and pork as well, and they're naturally raised and so on, is better for you than the many alternatives. And talking about alternatives, there's a lot of alternatives to meat on the shelves as well. And the interesting thing I'm seeing and reading is there's a lot on the shelves because for a reason. One is the investors getting behind it all, and two, there's a whole lot of propaganda behind it. But the interesting thing is there's still a lot on the shelves because I don't think many people are buying the shit.
Yeah,
you know, they're like, you go to a thing and go, there's all of the Frankenstein food, and it's still there. And it's probably going to sit there for 2 months, because probably can, because it's full of preservatives, versus, you know, the, dare I say, more emptier shelves of the meat, because that's where people, thank God, actually had the sensibility to go, well, I can choose to support farmers directly or indirectly and eat good food, or I can get caught up in all the bullshit about food that is produced in a lab.
Yeah, I think that's where we see...
Dave, I want you to speak your mind here, mate. This is an opportunity. I'm not going to put a fire under you, but...
No, well, mate, at the end of the day, people are entitled to their own choice. Like, at the end of that's completely up to them. But I think we are seeing that a lot more people are leaning towards a greener protein than to a lab-grown product. You only got to look at the ingredients of some of these... some of the things that are being produced, and what sort of health implications is that going to have on somebody's body, or, you know, the environmental implications of those produced, like those foods that are being produced, compared to a natural, you know, an animal grazing in a paddock. Like, I guess the whole business idea have just come from what we think, what we would like, I guess. You know, you see a cow walking up a paddock in a mob of grass with a bit of bush behind it. They can go in and, you know, rub themselves on a couple of trees, or, you know, like get under some shade and wallow in a creek or a dam when it's hot or something like that. Like, that's something that I want my animals to live, and that's, I feel, that what our customers want to see as well, compared to, you know, something being grown in a lab. So I don't know. I won't get too wound up, but I just feel pretty passionate about it, and I think that you know, people are making greener protein choices rather than whatever that other stuff is.
I think there's that's a good, you know, I think a lot of people get caught up in that they think, because they've been told, that the processed food, the Franken food, the fake meat is better for the environment. We won't need to go there with all the science behind that dispels a lot of that, but I think it's not a new thing. Like, you know, the propaganda, dare I say, and the kind of the advocacy around particular foods is not a new thing. You know, the whole fat versus sugar thing. You know, it's just when the sugar industry and the fat industry went up against each other, the sugar industry had more money and they made more propaganda and made fats bad. Let's take all the fat out of milk, and hang on, that means all the flavour's gone. We have to put some sugar back in, which supports the sugar industry, and then that food is horrendously bad for you, you know. So it's not a new thing, but it's just interesting the course that it's sort of taken, and I think the agendas behind it's, you know, people supporting it and saying, no, if you eat this fake food, there's going to be less cows on the planet. We don't need it. We can stop eating cows, and that's going to save the planet, because there's not going to be as many cows farting. Like, that to me is some basic science around there. People just don't kind of bother to look into.
Well, there's a lot of there's a big agenda going behind that as well. Like, these companies have a lot of money that are getting pumped into them, and they've got their own agendas at the end of the day. Of course, we've got our own agenda right now. We're trying to promote grass-fed, free-range and organic livestock, I guess, but they have a part of the environmental footprint in the system system that, you know, they sequester that carbon into the ground when they're working the land, when they're being rotated in paddocks and things like that. So it's not, I don't know how you could have a carbon neutral lab grown whatever that stuff is. Bianca, have you got anything else to say on that point?
Yeah, I think it's like the fat issue that you just brought up, you know, the fat and the sugar, and now it's taken its turn where everyone's realising that fat is actually good for you, and they're trying to incorporate more things like avocado and oils and things into their diet because they're actually realising that fat is good. And I feel like the meat will come around as well. Like everyone thinks that cows are bad for the environment. Eventually it'll come back around and everyone will realise that cows aren't so bad. Maybe we should have a look at some transport issues or the big cities or things like that. Like, you know, we just came back from Sydney the other day and I failed to understand how my farm and our farmers are doing such horrible things for the environment. My grass is green, the creeks are full, there's mountains behind me, and in Sydney it was just pollution and rubbish and litter, and like it was, I just can't understand how we're being, the beef is being the scapegoat, and it's an easy scapegoat for this carbon industry thing that's going on at the moment. Beef seems to be an easy scapegoat because farmers aren't one to be on the front foot and be in the face of the media promoting what they're doing. We're always in the media for negative things. You know, we see live export and all these things that go wrong, and farmers are just on the back foot of that. So I think having a business where it's like ours or some other bodies that come involved and be on the forefront telling the good stories of agriculture and the impact that agriculture does have on the environment, the positive impact, will be much more beneficial than going down the path of this plant-based meat program. And I think that just like back then when the fat and the sugar craze happened, we created a system that were terrified of fat, but now we're creating a system that's terrified of eating meat. And I think if we reverse that, you know, we don't want to have an industry of health professionals that are advising people not to eat meat because they've been told by agenda-driven companies that meat is bad for you. We need to be getting the real facts and taking the agendas out of it and the money that's backing these messages out of it, and just do what's right for people's health.
Well, I think I think, you know, with the
oh shit, maybe you're running for politics.
when Bianca is the Prime Minister, she's gonna
Red Dog as a Prime Minister.
Julia.
Yeah, wouldn't be the first one. You're going to. Can you combine the health department with the agriculture department? That'd be lovely. It's interesting that I think whether it's the. I mean, there's no money in health. You know, for those making money, like the amount of people are making in health. Those who are making money in health are those who are ultimately supporting illness.
Yeah, that's right.
By you know, medications that aren't actually looking at the cause of these illnesses. And for those who are making fake meat, it's not farmers making fake meat, it's organisations who want to make a lot of money out of it. If everyone ate meat, you know, sourced locally like what you guys are doing, or at least sourced from knowing where it's coming from, then there's no money for anyone else. You know, you guys are in business and you're dealing directly with farmers and you have your logistics team and your processors, whatever else. It is somewhat of a closed loop, right? It's a business that is doing its thing and contributing in a big way. It's not a corporation based in America who has its finger in a whole lot of different pies, and they hate that. They hate the fact that you and a lot of other farmers are independent and you're sovereign and you've got good businesses based on, you know, science and not based in fear, and you're based on support and storytelling, as opposed to what can we create in the population? How can we scare the crap out of them to make them buy a product that they'll make in a lab? I mean, that's the black and white of it all.
Yep. There's a lot of marketing that's going behind it. And it's a really good campaign by these companies.
Oh, they're doing a great job because they've got a shit product.
Yeah.
You know, and there's actually a whole lot of, there's actually not much behind it, because these claims about, if you eat our Frankenfoods, you're going to save the planet because there's less cows. It's like, well, that's bullshit in itself. But hang on, let's look at the product. Let's look at the glyphosate in there. You know, let's look at the chlorine, because it's got to be, these things have got to be made in sterile environments. Let's look at the nutrients or lack of nutrients.
Yeah.
Let's look at all the other preservatives and all the other crap in there. Like, they are sidestepping all that really easily and really well. And it's like, I'm going, can people not just do their own homework on this? I guess we've become a population, a species that's so reliant on others telling us what to do or what is, what's right or wrong.
Here we go.
No.
Start it up. Here we go. Wind it up.
I think now you've got me all flustered. I think if more people choose to eat a protein that is sustainably farmed, ethically produced, grass-fed, it will have a profound impact on the environment, much greater than reducing our meat consumption so we don't have any cows on the planet anymore. And I think, like, if we were to take out the agendas of those companies and to continue to source meat ethically, sustainably and locally, the impact would be astronomical. I had other things to say, but I forget.
What are your, just changing tack for a minute, what are your different strengths, do you think? Well, maybe, Bianca, you tell me what Dave's strengths are. As a you're a couple, not husband and wife, but which does not matter at all, by the way. What are some of Dave's strengths that he's kind of, his personality and his tendencies and maybe some bad habits, I don't know, that he's brought that makes you guys, you have got to this point and the success that you are?
Is this being recorded?
I'll send you a copy.
Anything I
can send you a little snippet, and every time she gets up, you go, "You remember saying this about me?"
Oh, well, I'd have to say Dave's team strengths, I guess. He's very good at engaging people, talking to people, building relationships. It's probably not something that I'm super good at, but Dave's very good at that. He does chew his fingernails, which is a little bit annoying, but I'll let him slip on that.
It's a good thing, mate.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's not a compliment sandwich.
And
I'll edit that bit out.
Yeah. The probably his spontaneous view on life. Like, we never do the same thing twice. Every day is different. There's a lot of spontaneity that goes on, and it's always eventful. Like, our life is never dull, I would say.
Dave, you have the opportunity to reply, rebut.
My rebuttal. I just think that Bianca's an amazing implementer. Like, I've never seen someone that can get as much shit done as she does, I guess, probably. And I guess probably not coming from a marketing background, but she always was asked, like, what degree or what marketing where did you study marketing or whatever, because we had marketing people that worked for us that couldn't do what she done as well, just being authentic and just telling a story. So the storytelling side of what she can achieve is great. And I think just being so organised, like, I'm not organised at all. I think if you go through my inbox and my emails at the moment, I've got about 8,500 that are unread. But, once they're gone from one scroll, they're gone forever. But, her life and her area of what she looks after is really well organised. So
thank you.
That's no worries.
I'll give you a copy of that as well.
Oh, yeah,
so if Bianca is, I'm going to say marketing, social media, administration to some degree. Is that fair to say? Like, at least you're getting through your emails.
Yeah.
What's Dave do when he's not looking at his inbox?
Dave procures our livestock, so he builds the relationship with our farmers. He does a very, very good job at that. Drives all over the countryside, makes really good relationships with those guys. He also looks after our finances, and I have no idea how he does that, and I think he's probably sheltered me from a lot of the pressure that he was under for a good probably 18 months to 2 years, probably still now to this day. Like, he didn't, we would talk about it, but he wouldn't open up to probably the full extent that he would have liked to I guess to protect me from that a little bit, because things were really tough. We were growing a business at an exponential rate with zero cash before we did the crowdfund, so it was really, really tough. Like, I think he was probably borderline about to have a nervous breakdown. But just the day-to-day runnings of the finances, our team, the culture within our team, and the livestock is a difficult job. Like, it's hard to coordinate 4 different proteins to turn up here to make sure we don't run out of meat to process our orders every day. So, although I do a lot of the forward-facing side of the business, the glamorous stuff, like the social media and the marketing and all that stuff that everyone sees on the news all the time, Dave really makes sure the back end of the business runs every day.
So you're basically you're managing, Dave, like the make sure that the freezers are full, basically.
Just all the processing. different abattoirs all over Australia, and then the livestock procurement as well, making sure that we've got animals that are booked in advance, from different farmers and things like that as well. So, and then obviously the financial side of things, that everyone needs to get paid. And
can I just say that Dave left school in year 8, so he probably doesn't know his timetables, but he's managed to run our business, at a medium to large size company it is now, with very little schooling education. So
how long have you been in this facility?
Just on February last year we moved here. We come here with 4 people in February last year, and now there's 40 something in here. So.
Wow.
And that was moving into this facility was a massive step for us. Like, we were in our little butcher shop, which we were growing out of, but to move into this facility was probably 3 steps too big.
Big step.
Like Dave said, we had 4 staff. We were still small in the scale of things, and we never ever thought we would grow into this place, but we have in the last 18 months. And, it was probably a little bit too big of a step, but we've managed. It's kind of like a shed. You always seem to fill it up.
Tell me, I'm just conscious of the time. Also, what we'll do, if it's okay, is do a little 10-15 minute Q&A for our Patreon members. So those who very gratefully, they, for $10 a month, they get transcripts of all our interviews. They get a weekly video from me, just what I'm up to and where I am and so on. They get a monthly webinar with some of our guests, with one of our guests each month, and a few other bonus things like that. I'm sure I've forgotten other benefits. Then in between seasons we feed them the Q&As just for them of our guests, which we'll do one after. Is that cool? I've got a standard set of questions to do.
No worries.
What are your 2 questions? I might leave that other one for the thing. I want to find out. Here's a carrot. I want to ask you who your mentors are and who's helped you along the way, been influential. But you have to be a Patreon member to find that out. But I will ask you, what are some of your sort of secrets of your success? Has there been, are there some non-negotiable things that you do or don't do? Is there sort of some phrases or quotes you return to as sort of keep you on track, that kind of keep you, that you scribble in the back of a diary, or you have on a wall in an office or something that's just this is how we operate? Is any of those sort of signature business kind of mantras?
Yeah, for me, I guess having a morning routine, so exercise, meditation, journaling, reading books. I read a lot of books as well. It's probably something that if someone said to me 5 or 10 years ago that I'd be meditating half an hour each day of a morning, I would have laughed at them. I would have thought they're just all full of shit.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time trying to have self-development as well, work on myself. Like Bianca said, I left school pretty early and got onto the farm and worked the farm at home when I was young, and I didn't really have that much of an education, I guess. So just really educating yourself and trying to develop yourself as you grow up. I still learn things every day, so that's something for me.
So what's your morning look like, a normal morning?
Exercise, get up, exercise.
What time do you get up?
About 4:30, exercising, and then, do some meditation for half an hour as well, some affirmations, telling myself things throughout the morning, and those affirmations, just reaffirm yourself. And because business is just such an up and down roller coaster of emotions. One day you could be on top of the world, you think that you're you're just winning at life, and then the next day you just feel like sticking your head in the sand. So it's always up and down, but you need to have a level playing field, and those affirmations just really affirm that. And then get onto some journaling as well. Always write out what my intentions are for the day, and just making sure that habit is there. And then anything that I have worries or doubts about, I guess, in my life, in my day, and I write that out and get that off of my chest, and then I feel like I'm so much more productive throughout the day if I do those few things in the morning.
Where'd you learn the journaling sort of stuff from?
I think just reading and having a couple of mentors that basically tell you, to be someone that runs a business of any substantial scale, you need to be a different sort of person, I guess. I love going to the pub and drinking beer with my mates like anybody does, but I think to be able to handle the emotional pressure and the roller coaster every day, you've got to do things a little bit differently, and just be really just look at life a little bit differently. So
cool. Bianca, what about you?
Much the same as Dave. Like, we probably have a very similar morning routine, so it involves exercise, meditation. Because we're a lot more office-based now, like we're not on the farm every day, the exercise part is very important, because we're not out manual labour all the time. Like, I wish we were out fencing, because I love that job. But, we do need to take our health very importantly, because I think if we don't have our health, we don't have anything, and it goes hand in hand with running a grass-fed meat company. Affirmations are very important. Reading books to further educate yourself, not so much like education as in university degrees, but personal development, personal education, and making yourself a better person. And affirmations and being okay with who you are, because I think if you're okay with who you are, then you're okay with who everyone else is as well.
Awesome. Well, all of that is certainly standing you all in good stead to have created and creating and continue to a wonderful business. And I look forward to following you through the next, chapters. And I think it's a real credit to you. And you're both very humble people, and I think that's also important, and you're just getting on and doing it. And it's been a real pleasure and honour to sit with you guys here and learn so much more about you, and really proud of you too. I think it's awesome what you're doing.
Appreciate that, Charlie.
We're out of time for this one. For those who aren't Patreon members, how rude. You should get on my website and join up, charliearnott.com.au, and for $10 a month you get all that other stuff I talked about before, and you will, if you do, learn about get the answers for some other questions. I want to ask these two in a minute. Dave and Bianca, awesome. Thank you so much for your time. As I said, I look forward to following you, and we'll do another little interview just after this. Yep. Stretch your legs, have a drink.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And next week on The Regenerative Journey, my guest is Tom Mulligan. He is a farmer up in Glen Innes in northern Tablelands of New South Wales, on his family farm there, doing some amazing things. He's a member of the Highland Beef Pastoral Company farmer and grazier group, and doing some wonderful things with them in collaboration, fattening their grass-fed animals, and that's all going overseas. Great yarn with Tom, lovely. I've known Tom for some years now, and it was just great to sit down with him in his essentially his family home, have the chat, talk about farming, talk about his life, talk about Highland beef. It's a good yarn. That's next week. Tom Mulligan on The Regenerative Journey.
This podcast is produced by Rhys Jones at Jaeger Media. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe, share, rate and review. For more episode information, please head over to www.charliearnott.com.au.